Hello everyone, I joined my friend Jeremy for a movie review. Say hi, Jeremy.
Hi everyone.
Actually, today we'll be talking about the first Final Destination movie from 2000, directed by James Wong. What do you think of Final Destination?
Oh, I really enjoy it. I always have. It was a good idea, and the death scenes are very creative, and it's a great movie.
Well, unfortunately, I'm the opposite on this one. I hate to say it and disappoint you. I'm not a fan of this movie or the rest of the series. I mean, I agree. I do like the idea and concept of this, but I just think to myself, yeah, this idea could have been done better. I don't know what it is. I don't find these characters that interesting for some reason, especially like the main character was Alex Browning, and it's not explained like how he has like these possible psychic abilities of like knowing like when they're gonna die or who's gonna live. And the idea of like Can't Cheat Death has so much potential to be done better in a better horror movie. Yeah. Also, like, I don't know if you know this. This movie was, like, this concept was originally written as an X-Files episode that was thought of but never made. So basically, we got what was left over in X-Files episode that was never made.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know why some of the death scenes, like the one like where the girl like gets run over by a truck or car or whatever, it felt like something out of a Roadrunner cartoon.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think of the characters?
Entertaining to watch, I think.
I don't know. These characters just didn't do it for me that much, and I don't know if you noticed, a lot of these characters were named after different like famous like horror like icon directors or actors, like Alex Browning, Todd Browning, the director of Dracula and Freaks, and Sean William Scott's character is Billy Hitchcock, Alfred Hitchcock.
That's right.
Also, Daniel Roebuck's character is named after Robert Wine, who did Caligari. The character Valley Law was named after film producer Val Lawton, who produced low-budget horror movies for Arcade Studios back in the 1940s, like Cat People and I Walked with a Zombie. Terry Chaney is named after silent film star Lon Chaney Sr. Larry Murnau was named after film director F.W. Murnau, who directed the 1922 silent horror film Nosferatu. Blake Dreyer named after film director Carl Theodor Dreyer, who was a Danish film director who directed the 1928 silent film The Passion of Joan of Arc, and the 1932 Vampire, which I did a YouTube video on this back in 2022. Krista March, Frederick March, who won the Academy Award for playing Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde from 1931. Agent Schreck, a reference to the actor Max Schreck, who played Count Orlok in the 1922 silent horror film Nosferatu. Todd Wagner, a reference to George Wagner, who was a producer on a lot of Universal monster horror movies. It's like you make a drinking game out of this, of which character is named after a famous horror icon or actor. Yeah. Kind of like similar like in Night of the Creeps when they had a lot of the actors' characters' last names were named after like modern horror directors at that time. Yeah. But I highly doubt anyone would get the reference about Hitchcock or Todd Browning or Lon Chaney. Yeah. If any like young audience would even get all those references or not. Yeah. Did you have a favorite death scene in the movie?
I don't know. I never really thought about it. I know that the first one is very difficult to watch because it's so slow and agonizing.
Yeah, that's true. Like when they're all like getting on a plane to board.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the first death after that.
Oh yeah, right. I was talking about his friend that got killed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Oh yeah, right. Gotcha. That actor's been in a lot of things. Who played his friend?
Donella.
Yeah. I remember he was on a Smallville episode. He's also on that episode of Cold Case Files that we watched at that time. Yeah.
He was also in Saw 3D.
I saw that a long time. I don't remember his character. But actually, honestly, I don't remember the movie that well, to be honest. I saw that a long time ago. I don't remember anything about Saw 3D, to be honest. Yeah. A movie I saw once and forgot about it. I don't remember anything about it other than the first two, but that's a different topic. Yeah, no, that's true. And also, like, they also make reference to John Denver because he died in a plane crash in real life, and also when I was like rewatching like the way the movie ends, like when they finally arrive in Paris, the part when they play the John Denver song, that's a sign that death was upon them.
That's right.
Yeah. Like I said, this is just a film. It's like I admit, like even though I've seen this movie and parts and bits of the sequel, I just never really like caught up or was that like enthusiastic about this series like a lot of people are. Yeah, I know, like death is gonna kill me that I don't like this series. Yeah. Yeah, just like what do you think of like Ali Larter's character or the?
I don't know. She was all right.
Yeah.
She's like Alex's support.
That she basically like feels like and understands that Alex is right about everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I have to mention it has Tony Todd in this movie. May you rest in peace, Tony. We miss you. I'm not gonna lie, but as I was watching this movie, I was saying to myself, I kind of wish he was the main character in this movie in this series because I know in the series that he basically is like only a small part. He's not a big like. He only just comes like giving like knowing what to expect about how death is upon them, that you can't escape death basically. Yeah, if he was the main character, then maybe I probably would have been into this series more. But yeah, but unfortunately, sad to say, he only has small screen time in this film, and he's only in it for like. Actually, I don't know. What was his screen time? Do you know? Or
he's in one scene.
Yeah, that's all I know is that he's in one scene, and that's it. We never see him again after that. It's like he was guiding them and giving advice how to, like, escape death, but like I said, they can't escape death. That's life. We're all going to die at some point. It's a fact of life. If there's anybody who's escaped death, let me know. Not really. No, probably not. Anyway, yeah, and also, like, the franchise. What do you think of the franchise as a whole?
I've always been a fan of it for a long time, and I think they get very inventive with the way they kill the characters.
That's what I feel guilty about, is that, like, I remember more kill scenes than the characters in this series. It's after a while, like, when you watch a movie that has characters that you're not interested or engaged in, you're remembering more how they died instead of remembering their personality or their arc.
Right.
Yeah. I'll admit, I've only seen the first one of this series. I've only seen bits and pieces of each of the sequels, and you probably would know more about the sequels than I do. Like, well, what do you think of each sequel? What do you think of the second one?
That one's pretty good. That one probably has the best opening disaster scene out of the whole series.
Right. Even though I do remember like watching the second one when they get killed by that log cabin truck.
Yeah, that's the second one.
Yeah, the second one, because here's a little bit of a funny story. I remember a few years, almost 2.5 years ago, I went to Italy. When I went on this group tour, like meeting people, socializing, interacting. He asked me like, "What are your hobbies and common interests?" I said, "I love horror movies." And this one woman said to me that because of what she saw in the second Final Destination 2 of that truck log cabin, that's why I never drive behind one of those. And there's memes of that. I told her, in all the years I've driven on the highway, I've never seen a truck like that. Be honest, have you?
No.
Me neither. So the chances of it running into a truck like that are very, very low. I don't know what kind of trucks those are that carry big log cabins. I don't know. Most of the time when I'm on the highway, when I see a big like truck, it's mostly like school supplies or other product placements.
All right.
Or Costco, whatever. But besides the point, yeah. And I also remember how the movie ends where that kid was by the barbecue scene and kaboom. Well, barbecue time, people. I forget what the character's name was, but anyway. And what did you think of the third one?
His name was Ryan.
Ryan. Well, Ryan just destroyed the barbecue, and I guess you're having him for dinner tonight. Yeah. What did you think of the third one?
Oh, that's a good one too. You got Mary Elizabeth Winstead in the
good actress.
She's a great actress.
She is.
She's done a lot of good stuff.
Right.
And yeah, the cast of that one is very talented, and again, the death scenes are very creative. And it's a great entry in the series.
Yeah, and also the only I remember about the third one was again the only death scene I remember that was the one where he's in the gym working out and the weights smashed. His no pain, no gain, no death.
It should also be noted that Tony Todd, while not appearing as William Bloodworth in this installment, he does have a voice cameo in the movie. He plays both the voice of the animatronic demon that I guess advertises the roller coaster.
Right.
He also voices the announcer of the subway at the end.
Okay, gotcha. So he's basically not the third one, just only voice.
I mean, you could
sort of.
Technically, it counts.
Okay, I guess.
He's credited as
right
in being in that movie.
Right. Well, like I said, I've only seen bits and pieces. And like I said, I remember the death scene with the weight guy in the weight room, and of course, I remember the tanning deathbed scene.
That one's brutal.
Yeah, I'm not a dermatologist, but I've read that tanning beds are not really near as good. They're just as bad as what a cigarette can do to you.
Yeah, I would never use one.
Oh, no, me neither. After watching that movie, you'll probably never use a tanning bed again now.
Even before I saw that movie, I would never use one.
Well, that's true. No, even the same. I always heard that tanning beds are not really that good for you in general.
Correct.
Yes, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I agree with Jeremy. Before I saw that movie, I always knew tanning beds were not healthy for your body. You might as well go outside and get regular vitamin D from the sun. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there was 2 more after this. But what were they called again?
Well, then there was the Final Destination.
Okay, so it's not called Final Destination 4.
No, but it should have been.
Right. Again, use numbers, Hollywood. I'm sorry, go on.
And after that, there was Final Destination 5. And of course, then there's Final Destination Bloodlines, which comes out next week.
How were the last 2 ones that you thought of?
I wasn't crazy about the Final Destination. I did very much enjoy Final Destination 5, though.
Was that better than the 4th one, or?
Yeah, I would say it was.
Fair enough, I guess. I don't know. I never saw any of those other 2 after. Like I said, this is Jeremy's recording on Final Destination Bloodline.
Final Destination Bloodlines is a great movie and easily one of, if not the best entry in the entire Final Destination series. It has a great story, great characters, great death scenes, and is just really fun to watch. The opening premonition is really epic and definitely does a good job of giving you an uneasy feeling even before anything bad starts to happen. This movie really kept me surprised as it did a lot of things that I wasn't expecting and that made it a lot more fun to watch. I also really loved Tony Todd's scene in this movie. It was very heartfelt and a wonderful tribute to the late horror icon. It was a great send-off and he certainly will be missed. The death scenes are also really fun and creative, and I really liked the new approach the filmmakers took with how death is stalking this one particular family. The characters are all great to watch, and you really feel a lot of sympathy for them. I'll wrap it up here. If you're a fan of the Final Destination series, you'll definitely enjoy this one. Take care, everyone.
Me with this series, only saw the first one because that's the big one, and obviously then it's like every franchise, they just got butchered and just made sequels for money, and are they ever going to do a Final Destination in space? I mean, think about it. That could work. It's not, well, the only way people can die in space, because there's no oxygen in space. Yeah. I don't know. Just, like I said, to me, this series just, like I said, it's one of those concepts where it's like I watched it, I'm like, yeah, I kind of see the good concept behind it, but I'm just not, I wasn't feeling it. It happens. Well, there's a lot of horror movies like that where some people think, this idea was good, but it wasn't done and executedly done properly the way you imagined it. Yeah, it's not like how in Halloween or Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, and Jason, where there's a human being and killer in presence. Where this is the dead. It's more of the spiritual, the supernatural, a ghost. Well, I guess you could say death is a ghost somewhere. I don't know if that's. I don't know. But basically the point is there's no killer to be seen at large. Yeah. Let's just say if the police were investigating you and they asked you how this happened, they wouldn't believe you that death is what killed these people.
Right.
Yeah. When I was, like I said before, all these characters named after, the first movie named after a certain famous horror icon, I'm thinking to myself, actually, what was I going to say? I didn't recognize Daniel Roebuck's character in the first movie.
Yeah, he was one of the detectives.
Right, actually, or I thought he was an FBI agent or something, or... But anyway, I'm sorry. The point is, I didn't recognize Daniel Roebuck, who you all know was in a lot of Rob Zombie movies, and it was in the third Terrifier film. You wouldn't recognize him because he's so young right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, this series it didn't do it for me, but I know you seem to be more enthusiastic than I was.
Yeah, I guess I am.
It happens. We all have our likes and dislikes in horror movies, or just movies in general. Yeah. But you know what's funny about when I was rewatching this movie?
What?
Remember we had this conversation earlier that I remember as a kid watching with my older sisters at the time, even though at the time I didn't understand the whole premise of this film.
Yeah.
But I remember when I rewatched it years later as a teenager when I was finally into horror movies, I'm saying, wait a minute, I remember this movie. A certain scene stood out to me. the part when they almost got killed by the train, not knowing, thinking that death was going to kill them at that moment. And Sean William Scott like thought so and so was next. He's like, stay away from it. Then he gets his head decapitated, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember this part as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But as a kid, I didn't realize that was Stifler at the time.
Neither did I.
Yeah, I just for some that's you ever heard of the Mandela effect?
I've heard the name.
Yeah, like basically like as a kid you see it differently in your head, or well, as a kid I didn't realize that was Sean William Scott. I thought it was a different actor in my mind.
Right.
Yeah, it happened, like as a kid we see things differently than adults do.
Yep.
Yeah. And of course I remember the anticlimactic final ending where like, he basically tried to sacrifice himself in order to save her life, but he survived. But as I was saying to you earlier, there actually was an alternate ending to this movie.
Yeah, that's right, there was.
Yeah, basically he does die in the end after saving her life and sacrificing himself. And I guess there must have been some kind of like off-screen in between of like romance, of intimacy that we didn't know about. She had his baby a year later. Yeah, and there's like a memorial for like the victims who died on the airplane.
That's right.
Yeah. You know what else I find interesting too about this movie?
What?
I mean, it takes place in Long Island, but I really don't know if it was shot in Long Island because they mentioned like LaGuardia Airport or certain. Because because we're from Long Island, and it's like like where they shot the airplane scene at LaGuardia Airport. I'm like, that can't be LaGuardia Airport. I know what LaGuardia Airport looks like.
Okay.
Yeah, like just I know it's very nitpicky stuff. When you lived someplace for so long, he's like, wait a second, they mentioned Long Island. It's like, wait a minute, I know that's not the actual spot of like what it looks like. Yeah, I know I'm being very nitpicky about this and very geeky. Yeah. Yeah. Also, like I said, also the way the movie really does end, where this is what I was gonna say too. Like seeing how like, the part when they got off the airplane, escaping death, and the plane crash. I'm thinking to myself, just think this was 2000. Just think what happened a year later, 9/11. Different story, but still, it makes you think about foreshadows to some degree.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Sometimes when you look back at a certain movie like this, you think about certain like foreshadows of what the films predicted at the time, not knowing. Yeah. Life is strange and funny in some ways to a certain degree. But anyway, that's a different story. Anything else you want to touch upon with Final Destination that comes to mind about the series or the first movie, or?
Just that I'm a huge fan, and I can't wait to see the 6th one next week.
Yeah, as much as I would want to go see it, but I just wish that if Tony Todd was the main focus, even though I might have no interest to see it, but you'll go see it. You'll do a recording for this video.
Yeah, that movie is going to be one of Tony Todd's last films.
That's true. When I saw Sinners and Until Dawn in the movie theater, they showed a trailer to it. I hate to say it, Tony Todd was not looking good from what I saw in his, like you can see his cheekbones, and he looked like he maybe lost.
He was very skinny.
Yeah, you can tell. Like, how did he die again?
Cancer.
I thought. I guess he must have lost a lot of weight from the chemo, I guess.
Yeah.
Even though, again, don't quote me on it, but point is, from seeing the trailer, it's like, yeah, Tony Todd was not looking good right here.
No.
But he looked like he was still doing his A game, no matter what.
Right.
Yeah. Alright, I guess that's wraps up everything. Like the video, subscribe, and we'll see y'all next time. Say bye, Jeremy.
Bye, everyone.
And remember, try to cheat death.